Well, good evening. On behalf of the Canes Vote Network, I want to welcome you to our webinar this evening. My name is Andrew Weimer, and I serve as the University of Miami's Director of the Butler Center for Service and Leadership, and oversee the Canes Vote Network and Get Out the Vote student-led initiative. To provide you some background, the Canes Vote Network is comprised of students, faculty, staff, administrators, and community members who are passionate about civic participation in the University of Miami community. As part of this network, our lead voter engagement organization is Get Out the Vote. Get Out the Vote is a team led of students with the support of the University of Miami's administration. The purpose of the group is to reach out to students, faculty, staff, and encourage them to get involved in the political process. We invite you all to be part of the Canes Vote Network. As you know, we are in a very special year as we begin to kick off the academic semester, the year of a general election. Our panel and team is excited to share with you how you can become engaged in the community during an election year. This is also a very unique time for our community and world as we face a global pandemic and the COVID-19 coronavirus. Changes are happening each day with how we interact and engage in our world, and particularly with democracy and civic participation. Before we get started, I would like to introduce those individuals that made this event possible. First, I would like to give a big shout out to Gender and Sexuality Studies and their director, Dr. Claire Porter. Claire, if you'd like to come say hi.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Andrew, and thanks to our host and moderator, and also to all the panelists and guests tonight. I'm thrilled that Gender and Sexuality Studies was able to co-host this event.
Thank you again. Through her vision, this program really became a reality. Second, I would like to thank the Get Out the Vote team, our full team, and their president, Albany Maria. So Albany, if you'd like to come say hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the panelists and our moderator, Andrew, and our wonderful Get Out the Vote team for making this possible. Hope you enjoy.
Again, Albany. Without all their support, this and their team, this could have not been possible. So just a few more things before we get started. If you are unfamiliar with Zoom, you are welcome to utilize a few functions. In the bottom of the Zoom screen, you will see a question and answer button, and you're welcome to ask questions as we go through the webinar. Please indicate who you would like to have the question answered by so they can address that question. All questions will be moderated, and we will try to go through those questions at the end of the session as much as possible. Also, please note that a recording will be posted for this webinar if you'd like to share this with others following the event. So at this point, I'd imagine you are all very excited to get started, and I will be serving, as I said, the moderator for the evening. So please help me in welcoming our following guests. I'm going to bring all of our guests to the screen now as our group of panelists. Right. So hopefully you have all of our panelists. I'm going to have them introduce themselves as we go through and at least say hi. I will go through a specific bio of each of them, but they can at least say hi to you. So we have Jessica St. Fleur from Engage Miami. If you'd want to wave, Jessica, thank you. We have Morgan Anderson from the League of Women Voters. We have Raven Bedford, a UM student, and Krista Schmidt, an FIU law student. So thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to getting to hear from you as we go through the panel. So we're going to begin with our first panelist. Our first panelist, Jessica. Jessica is the lead advocacy organizer for Engage Miami. Jessica was born and raised in Little Haiti, Miami. She's been with the team since 2018, promoting voter registration and education across college campuses, and has since led issue campaigns around affordable housing and climate justice. A graduate of Pitzer College with passions in healthcare and Black Lives Matter movement, she naturally emerged with an intersectional social justice approach in life, thus leading her to give back to her own community fighting against climate change and the local affordable housing crisis through a climate gentrification framework in Little Haiti. So I have a couple questions for you. The first question I have for Jessica is, so to begin, can you provide us with an overview of Engage Miami, kind of what your role, we've heard about it, but could you provide us some background into your organization and your mission and values? So I'll turn it over to you, Jessica.
Hi, hello everyone. So I'm so excited to be here first off. And And overall, Engage Miami is a youth-centered organization which strives to bring an inclusive and equitable approach to voter registration, civic engagement, and organizing campaigns around the issues that young people care about. And my job at Engage is to, as the advocacy organizer, is to build not only the membership and bring in the community of Engage Miami and the young people in Miami, but also to lead in the campaigns that we assist in around affordable housing, climate change, transportation that works, democracy done right, as well as affordable housing. Yes, and also we are leading a campaign called the YPPP. It's called the Young People's Policy Platform, and we highlight these main issues and trying to emphasize the different issues that we have, explain them to the young people in Miami, as well as the different policy changes that are possible in order to fix them.
Thank you so much, Jessica. The other question I have for you, what support does your organization provide within the local community? So you touched a little bit on this, and maybe what are the specific communities within the South Florida or Miami area and identities that your organization works to support and educate?
Well, we are based in Miami, but we are also stretched out throughout Broward. We go into high schools as well as the local colleges in the area, Miami-Dade, different FIUs, different colleges and high schools in the area, and we provide one-on-one voter registration, but not only voter registration, but the education along with it, what's on the ballot. We provide workshops, the structure and function of our government system, our local government. And we also take these students to their first commission meeting, their first city and council commission meetings, their county commission meetings, and they get to actually speak on an issue that they are interested in and get to see the different experiences of how to become civically engaged and how to actually go about changing the issues and the different problems that we have going on right here in Miami.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. And so we will get back to you, Jessica, in just a little bit. But now I'm going to welcome another panelist, Morgan Anderson. And so Morgan, I will share you a little bit about it, information about Morgan, her background, and then we'll get into some questions. So Morgan is the membership chair of the League of Women Voters of Miami-Dade County. In this role, she helps current, new, and prospective members understand the work of the League in Miami and how they can get more involved. Morgan also serves in a publicly elected office as a community council board member for Council District 12 in unincorporated Miami-Dade County. In this role, she makes zoning and land use decisions for the East Kendall area. Morgan's paid work is as a learning specialist at the University of Miami. She is also happily married and a recent homeowner and a dog mom. So welcome, Morgan. So I'm going to ask you a few questions that I have for you. So Morgan, it's a similar question. If you can also provide us maybe a little bit about the League of Women Voters, your role and what you do, and then a little bit about a background of your organization's mission and values. So I'll turn it over to you, Morgan.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you so much for everyone that helped organize this panel and bring about this event. I'm really excited to be here representing the League of Women Voters this evening. And I do apologize if my dog barks. This is like her most energetic time of the day, so please excuse me if that happens. So the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization, and our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. So the League of Women Voters was founded in 1920 with the passage of the 19th Amendment. which, just as a refresher for those of you who may not know, the 19th Amendment said to the Constitution said that the right to vote cannot be abridged on the basis of sex. So it essentially allowed women to be able to vote when they hadn't previously. Unfortunately, what we know is that it really only guaranteed the right to vote for white women, because we know that the right to vote for women of color, Black women, Native American women, really wasn't guaranteed until 1964 with the Civil Rights Act, but the League of Women Voters was founded after the passage of the 19th Amendment to essentially bring women into voting, because it was a new thing for them. A lot of women were unfamiliar with voting. You know, they may have like talked to their families or their husbands about it, but it was unfamiliar to them. And so the mission of the League of Women Voters is really to educate people about where to vote, when to vote, what's going to be on the ballot, how to register to vote. We are a nonpartisan organization, which means we do not support or align with any particular candidate or political party. So you won't see us out here like, you know, endorsing candidates or supporting candidates. We remain neutral in that area. However, we are a very political organization. And so we do advocate for a platform of issues. And so you'll see us out in the community, like taking a position on many issues, but not aligning with a party or a candidate. And so my role at the League of Women Voters is I'm the membership chair. And so pretty much what you said, Andrew, I do a lot of outreach to members or people who are interested in becoming members, just to let them know what the League does, what our mission is, and what we're currently doing, and how they can plug into that work.
Thank you, Morgan. And also, you know, as another question that I had for you, you touched on it again a little about some of the work you do in the community, but maybe if you could talk about some of the other identities that you work with in the community, some of the areas and some of the specific programs that you've done here in Miami that people can get involved with.
Absolutely. So we are the League of Women Voters. However, we are open we are open for membership, and we serve all identities on the gender identity and sexuality spectrum. We are not an exclusive organization. You know, despite our name, we are a very inclusive organization. And so I want to just make people aware of that. And in terms of our work in the community, we really, it kind of breaks down into two areas, as I said, education and advocacy. So we try to serve, we are the League of Women Voters of Miami-Dade County. And so we try to serve all areas of Miami-Dade County, all the way from Aventura, Miami Gardens, all the way down to Homestead. We try to do, well, before coronavirus, we try to do events in all areas of the county. And so we do outreach and education in, you know, everywhere that we can. We're trying even more the past several years to build partnerships with community partners in every area of the county. So on the education side, we do a lot of voter registration. We do a lot of educating people, doing what we call Civics 101 or Decode the Ballot workshops, where we kind of just teach people about, okay, when you go in to vote, it's not just going to be the presidential race that's going to be on there. There's going to be these positions, there's going to be state senators, there's going to be amendments to the Florida Constitution. And obviously, during those types of educational events, we're not advocating one way or the other or pro or against a candidate. We really just want to educate people so that they're prepared when they go in to vote. And then on the advocacy side, you'll see us, you know, as Jessica mentioned, at county commission meetings, at city commission meetings, even at the state level, at the state house, advocating for certain issues that align with our platform. One event that I do want to highlight that was really exciting, which we did plan to do this year, but probably won't be able to because of coronavirus, was a party at the polls. So we hosted in 2018 for the midterm elections. We hosted, I think, 5 quote unquote parties at the polls, where we had food trucks, we had games, we had a voter education booth, and we hosted this at 5 early voting sites. One in Homestead, one in Overtown, one in Miami Gardens, and the other 2 I can't remember, but they were really exciting events. And the thing is, you can't incentivize voting, so you can't like give someone like a prize for voting, but you can have an event like that at a voting site and have it open for everyone. So that's what we did essentially, to just encourage people to really come out and get educated and get excited about voting. So hopefully that answers your question and gives you kind of a picture of the scope of the work that we seek to do in the community.
No, thank you so much. All the work that you're doing at the League of Women Voters, also the work that Jessica's doing at Engage Miami, so powerful and so important for what we can be doing in our own community here. And so I look forward to continuing to ask some more questions about how we continue to stay involved. And so thank you. So we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit. I'd like to bring in some names of some students who have been doing some work as their time here in Miami. And so the first person I'm going to share with you, we already met her, is Krista. So Krista, thank you for joining us. Krista began her civic involvement when she served as the FIU student body president, advocating for students to the University Administration, Florida State Legislature, and U.S. Congress. After graduating, she was introduced to political fundraising for multiple local state campaigns, where she was able to dive headfirst into the world of politics and local governments. Krista will be attending FIU Law this fall, congratulations, and aspires to leverage her skills, connections, and legal understanding to create a more prosperous, fair, and modern Miami-Dade. So thank you for joining us, Krista. So my question for you, I'd like you to share, we've gotten a glimpse about who you are, but if you could share really a little bit more about yourself, what drove this passion to get involved in this, and how have you become engaged in other areas throughout the Miami community through civic participation? Might give us a little insight into some of the campaigns, your democratic engagement on a personal level, and what that looks like for you. So I'll turn it over and welcome, and thank you for joining us, Krista.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be able to speak to this group specifically, just because when I was going through college, I was just your average involved person all over the place, doing everything I could. And then when it came to student government, someone asked me to run as the sophomore representative. And then later on, they asked me to run for VP of student government. And then I ended up having to run for president. So it wasn't really something I had sought out. It kind of fell into my lap. And it was one of those moments where people trusted me in this role and they wanted me to just go for it. So I took a leap of faith. And then it turned out to be the most incredible experience of my whole life, because I really didn't understand politics yet and how impactful it was, and why it was so important for all of us to get involved. So as a young person stepping into this world, having to represent over 56,000 students, it was really scary. It wasn't something I was ever ready for. And I don't think a lot of people that run for office are ready for it. Some people just have to go for it. They get called to action. So I really hope, the students listening in realize that this could be something that is for them, not to be afraid of opportunities that come your way. Knowing that politics is for everyone. I was definitely one of those people that was like, politics isn't for me. And then I kind of realized it was for me, just because I cared. And I cared about people, and I cared about helping others. So being in that role as student body president, at FIU, we're a public university, so we are dependent on funds from the state. We do have to work really hard to make sure they understand our needs. And that was my role, was to really understand the needs of all the students, not just the students like me that have my same privileges, my same opportunities. I had to really step out of my comfort zone, step out of my sphere and my worldview, and understand what it was like to have to represent FIU, one of the most diverse, universities, and make sure that I was advocating for everyone, not for my needs, but for theirs. So having that understanding of what it takes to do that kind of a role really shaped my perspective. And I started looking bigger and bigger. I'm like, what is my local government doing? What's my state government doing? And when I really took the time to understand that, I saw how important it was to be a part of that process, to get certain people elected, to understand how our processes work. In Broward, they vote on a sheriff. And that's a huge issue that people are dealing with now. What kind of people are in these positions that really do affect us in every way? And understanding, how does my local government affect me? How do certain positions of power create a certain, world for us? So I thought that was super important. So when I got the opportunity to then start working on fundraising for campaigns, I wasn't ready for it either. I didn't understand how to fundraise or what to do, but I had faith in the people that had faith in me to do that role. So went in head first, learned a lot, got a crash course in local politics, met, the local players, I got to understand how everything affected each other, how the cities work together or against each other, how the county interacts with the cities, and, the difference of powers, and, who's at the table, who's not in the table. And that was also very, very important too, because I think a lot of us, we don't really understand that sometimes. So now when we have, 4 new county commissioners that could be on the table in this election, a new mayor, there's just so much going on. And I think it's really important for all of us to just understand the impact that we can have. You could call those campaigns, volunteer, get to know those candidates. And, since they are local, you could meet these people. It's hard now because things are more virtual, but taking the time to listen in on debates. And that's really where the shift in my life took, from not understanding this world at all to being head first and being a part of it. So I just want everybody to really get that this could be for you. This is for anyone, and it impacts everyone.
Well, thank you, Krista. I know, yes, we'll get a little bit more into your engagement with some of the campaigns and like what you were engaged with. And so I really appreciate you again being here and sharing with us and how you've advocated for your community, and especially a little bit of background. Thank you for sharing with that about the importance of the world around us and how much we have influences with these different elections, and especially on a local level. So we will get into that. So thank you so much. So the next question, the next person, that I would like to introduce you to, as you've already seen, Raven. Raven Bedford first came to UM in fall 2017. Then she took a gap year in spring 2018 after losing some friends after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. In her time off, she has helped organize March for Our Lives Miami, worked as an intern for a congressional primary campaign, and then as a field organizer on a Florida state congressional campaign. And she also, in her free time, mentors kids in Coconut Grove through the Kulula Project. So I'd like to welcome Raven. And I have a question for you too. We've just heard about all your wonderful experiences, but if you could also share with us just kind of a little bit about who you are. How did you get involved and gain your passion for this work, and how have you been involved and engaged the Miami community through your civic participation on various levels personally? So I'll turn it over to you, Raven, and thanks you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. So I first got involved my freshman year, the spring semester. I lived in Parkland for 10 years, and so I knew a lot of people who went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And so I ended up losing 2 friends in the shooting. And basically, I was grieving and I was going through what, I wouldn't say what anyone would go through, but I was going through, what that experience is like. And I found a group of people on campus who were from Parkland like me, and they went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas for high school. And so they were planning on doing something in Miami, and I decided to join them. So basically, I knew these people already, and we, sorry, it's kind of hard to explain, but we basically created a kind of grassroots march, and we got it done in the city of Miami Beach. We worked with the city, and then after that I was out of school, and so during the march when we were organizing it, we had campaigns approaching us, asking us to work with them or give their candidate a place to speak at the march, but we didn't really allow that. But one of them reached out to me and they were like, we need an intern on a campaign. So I got involved with that. And then, I decided, okay, I'm done with politics, and I got a job at Nike. And then 2 weeks later, another campaign reached out to me and they were like, we heard that you did the march and we heard that you worked on another campaign. And so do you want to do this? And so this time I ended up being a field organizer, that was a big first for me. That was basically my first big girl job, my first real job anyway. And so I was working for the Florida Democratic Party. I was also working on a state congressional campaign, and that was in 2018. And then at the end of that election cycle, I decided to go back to school. But I also, more importantly, I decided to start volunteering in Miami in a less political way. So the Kulula Project, it's basically a project to empower specifically African-American youth and teach them, kind of Pan-Africanism and just about their culture, and that Black culture didn't begin with slavery. and it's not going to end with our oppression. And so, yeah, that's what I do. I work with kids in Coconut Grove, and it's great. It's very fulfilling.
Well, thank you. And, looks like it sounds like that you just were pulled straight back into that political realm. Nike, you couldn't stay there. So, it's good to have you back in that arena and continuing to engage in your community. It's a very powerful work. So thank you for being here. And we'll get back to you for some more questions as we move through. The next question I have is back to Jessica. And so Jessica, I'm going to bring you in. Jessica, why would you say getting involved in, we have various groups of people within this call, so it's not just college students, but it looks like there's people from all over. So why is getting involved in a community so important? But also taking a look at college students. Why is it good, and especially good for students and maybe even out-of-state students who only live here for a couple years? And how would you encourage students to begin the process of finding a place to actively participate in efforts that are taking place throughout our community that you've been involved with, that you work with currently in any capacity? So I know it's a lot of questions all in there, but really it's all about how do you get involved, and why should you as a student, and why should you as an out-of-state student? You're only here for a couple of years.
I think it's really important for college students or students in general, or young people in general, to realize that it's easy to get trapped into a bubble, especially in a college setting that kind of separates you from the rest of the community that you are in. At least that was my experience. And I think it was definitely important for me to venture out into the community that I was in and to kind of ground myself in the area that I'm in, because it's easy for you to go to school, go to work, come back, and not think about the different things that the community is actually going through, what the different issues that are happening in that community. Especially when you're an out-of-state student, it's really easy to detach yourself from that. But as a student, as a person living in this community, whether it is for 4 years, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. Even if it's 2 months, it's great. It's better for you to ground yourself and have an understanding of what area that you are in, as well as knowing what are the different policies that are placed that are affecting those people. What are the different laws and policies, as well as the type of systems that are in place, because each region has different policies in place, politicians in place. There are definitely things that you can venture out into to really see what is the experience for the people that are living there, and how can you as an outsider see that the plight of the people who live there. Because just because you've lived in a place that was similar to the place that you live now, that does not mean that you have the same experiences as the people who live there. So I think overall it's just important for you to know where you live and have an interest about the people who live there and the things that they go through, because every area is different. I thought LA was going to be somewhat similar to Miami. No, there's different types of ethnicities there. There's different types of groups of people. They have their own things that they have going on. And I think for me, it was very important to venture out into the community of the city of Pomona near my school and talk to the people there, talk to the farm workers, talk to the incarcerated women that were right across the street from one of the buildings of my school. So it was definitely important for students to understand that and know that there are different ways for you to get involved than in a political sense.
And where do you start? You were there, you just kind of, you began your journey, and you're here in Miami now. And what would you suggest, or what would you share to say, how do you start this process? Because it can be overwhelming as a person, just, wow, I want to help, but I'm not sure how. What would you suggest, or how would you encourage about how to find that?
Honestly, it's all about talking to people and also Google. Google is a great tool for people who tend to be a little bit more antisocial like I am. I like to research and Google everything, and start with your passion. If there's a specific passion that you are interested in and there's a specific issue that you want to be involved in, if you're interested in climate change, how does climate change affect this area that I am in now? How is racism affecting the community that I am in now? How can I put my efforts into these things depending on where I am? Because every single region will have its thing, and whatever passion that you have within your heart, trust me, there's a place for you to start no matter where you are. And if there isn't an opportunity outright for you to do that, I would say definitely talk to the people in your area. Especially if you're in college, there's offices that you can talk to that will get you involved, that will get you volunteering. And if not, find a local nonprofit in your area. Local nonprofits are the key to the different things that you have going on. If that nonprofit that you found is not suitable for what you have envisioned, talk to someone in that nonprofit who has connections to other partners, because even here in this chat, we have different partners that we work together, and I know to connect to the League of Women Voters if I need help on something, or I can connect a student to a different nonprofit. So it's all about making those connections, doing the research. There's always a place for you to start. And if you don't know, ask.
Thank you. And that's such a great way to go find, like we talk about Google, but go look for it. It's out there. You have to just find it sometimes and connect, but also connect with folks that you know. I would encourage you to, I'll do a short plug, in the Butler Center for Service and Leadership, we have about 250 nonprofit organizations we work with here in Miami. And it's so important that you can go on there at volunteer.miami.edu. You can look up what they do, how you can get involved. They may not post exactly the various opportunities, but you can find what's going on and find out what is something that you're passionate with. So be sure to check that out, and we can always send that information out in the future. But volunteer.miami.edu is a great resource for finding those nonprofits, as you mentioned. So my next question is going to go to Morgan. And Morgan, I would like to know if you could share with us, what does a typical experience look like for someone maybe wanting to join your organization's efforts, and what are they going to do, and how are you going to engage with them, and what are they going to do in our community? So what's the steps?
That's a great question, Andrew. Thank you so much for asking. So firstly, I want to say that the League of Women Voters in Miami, our unofficial motto is that the world is run by those who show up. And so to answer your question, I'll just tell a brief story of how I got involved with the League of Women Voters, because I think it kind of illustrates it perfectly. So if any of you are familiar with Give Miami Day, it's kind of like a local holiday in Miami where different nonprofit organizations raise money. And so on Give Miami Day in, I think, fall of 2017, I was like scrolling through like, oh, who can I like donate some money to on Give Miami Day? And I came across the League of Women Voters, and I like signed up to get on their mailing list. And so once I got on the mailing list, and this is such like an interesting story of what a small world it is, I started receiving their emails, and I was reading their emails and I was thinking, okay, is this an organization that I really want to get involved with? And eventually they started advertising for an event that they were having, which was after the Parkland shooting. They were going to be registering voters at the March for Our Lives. So Raven, thank you so much for helping me get involved with the League of Women Voters, because I saw in their newsletter they were advertising, if you want to register voters, come out to this event on Miami Beach, and all you have to do is like take this little test to make sure you know all the rules and regulations. And so essentially, if folks want to get involved at the League of Women Voters, all you have to do is start showing up. And I know that's an odd thing to say in a time of coronavirus, but all of our events are really moving to an online space. So we're not at this time hosting any in-person events. But the thing about the League of Women Voters is that we are an all volunteer organization at the local level. So we have staff at the national level and at the state level, but in terms of local chapters, we're all volunteers. So the folks who are on our board, it's not really like, it sounds fancy, but it's not really like a fancy like board. It's just the people who like attend and like give the most time and energy to the organization, and kind of have this like leadership role. And so our board meetings, for that reason, they are open to the public. If you're just a general member, or if you're just a member of the public and you're interested in getting involved in the league, I would say come to one of our board meetings. And as of now, you know, they're on Zoom, but of course we can, if you're interested in that, you know, we can like post that information on our social media, we can make it available, because that is how most people get involved, is they either come to an event that we're hosting, or they come to a board meeting, or they come to one of our committee meetings, and then they just start kind of getting more involved from there. Hopefully that answered your question. I just really went off on a tangent, but.
No, that's great. You know, I really am always, it's always important to share how to get involved with a specific organization and also what you'll be doing. And I'm glad you touched on the virtual environment too, because we'll kind of, I'd like to go back to that a little bit. I think there'll be some questions around that, because this is a completely different world we're living in. And I also will be touching on some voter registration information. We had a question about that in the chat box. So the person that wrote that, I will be addressing that with all of us in just shortly. So know that your question will be answered. We do have, so thank you again, Morgan, for that. Krista, I'd like to get to you for a second. You know, you've talked a little bit about your engagement in campaigns and involvement and how you've been involved, but what value is this? What value does a student have in getting involved with these locally engaged, specifically engaged organizations? And what would you share with them? Like, what does that do for you or for the community?
Yeah, so honestly, you could get a whole new life out of just joining one organization. Your life could take a quick turn in the best way possible. You know, besides the fact that you're going to be learning about issues that you care about, understanding how to make real change on those issues, you get to see where the impact happens, who you get to help. You also get to make new friends. You get to meet people that get to help shift your worldview. You get to meet people that maybe get to introduce you to your next job. Maybe they introduce you to another opportunity that continues to just change your life and just keep on, you know, propelling you into the next chapter and then the next chapter. So when you join these kind of organizations, besides the fact that you're learning, you're also growing as a person. You might end up like Morgan with a leadership role, and you get to be a part of something that you really care about. And, you know, I think a big part of living life to the fullest is having something that you really care about, where you're then impacting the lives of other people. And also when you get to join one organization, you also get to learn about all the rest that are in Miami-Dade County. Maybe you live in a different city or a different county. You just get to start kind of going through, you know, the rabbit hole of all these different organizations and opportunities. I actually went to one of Morgan's events for the League of Women Voters in Coral Gables. I just realized it when I saw her face. I was like, oh, she looks so familiar. You know, the world kind of gets smaller and smaller as you start networking more and joining more organizations. So, you know, I think as students now, if you don't realize the importance of networking and about building up your repertoire of different kind of people in your life, now is the time to start, because you never know where that's going to take you. And I just really want you all to know that through these organizations, you get a lot of empowerment as well. Whether you join a group that supports you, maybe in, you know, your passion of issues, or maybe it's like women issues or something that really is at home for you. I just want you to understand how powerful you are, and you might not even realize it yet, the kind of power that you have to make change. And all it takes is that one step of just signing up for an email, or, you know, just showing up, like Morgan was saying, at an event, and maybe you find your future like spouse, or you find your future pet project. You get to sit on a board. And through all those things, you could find mentors, you know, and you just get to be the change that you want to see. We all know that quote, but it's the truth. You know, the change isn't going to start until people like you all that have this amazing network from the University of Miami, use those networks, find your mentors, and find your niche in your community.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Krista. And yes, there's that little email. You just never know. If you sign up for something, you may see something come in the mail and well, the little email might just pop up, and it actually happened to me just the other day. And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe like something just happened. And you're right, the network is small. The world gets smaller and smaller as you continue to get involved. And so you may be working with someone. So just, take that step, find it, sign up for things. When you're online looking for it, just sign up and see what comes your way, read those newsletters. There's so much valid, very, very important information that you can get. So thank you for that. We'll be back in just a second. I have a question for Raven. Raven, you talked about you've had quite the experience, right? You were engaged in Broward, and then you came to Miami, and now you're involved in the nonprofit that's right here and working with children. And I would ask, how do you suggest people get involved with various things that you have, and how do you become engaged in the community? How do you make time for that? We are continually busy and we're doing things. How do you do that? And what is the process to getting that start for you?
So I live in Broward. And like I said, I lived in Parkland, but I didn't go to Douglas. I went to Fort Lauderdale, which is a magnet school. So, I would commute every day from Parkland to the middle of Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors area. And so basically when I got to Miami, I did the same thing. I commute all the time. And even when I worked on those political campaigns, they were political campaigns in Miami, but, I stayed in Broward the entire time. So it was a lot of time management, but it was also a lot of dedication. So, people knew I was very dedicated because I was there every single day. The march, if they had a meeting at, City Hall in Miami Beach, I was like, okay, I'm getting in my car. I'm ready to go. I guess if you're passionate about something, then, you're going to find a way to make it happen, and you're going to be dedicated to it. And that's what I found. And, personally, after a while, I found that politics wasn't what I wanted to do. And so just like y'all have been talking about emails, I got an email from the Butler Center about the Kalula Project, which is it's research through the university. And so that's how I got involved in that. And I found that I have a passion for psychology. I have a passion for working with children. So it's just, trying to take advantage of every opportunity, but also knowing that if you are going to be doing something, you have to put 100% in, because, it's your name being attached to it, but also when it's something like community organizing or politics where it's something that you're a part of something bigger than yourself, you have to put 100% in, because you want to look back on that and you want to say, okay, you know what, I did everything that I could do. And it could either be, a flop, or it could be great. And you want it to be great. And if you want it to be great, then you're going to do whatever you can. You're going to be 100% dedicated.
Awesome. That warms my heart that you were reading the Butler email, the Butler connection, because, we send that out, and that's another resource that there's various things that
It was my first time reading it.
You're very good. So thank you. And, I'm always so happy to see people engage in the community. That's what got my start, and really volunteering and being part of that, and also knowing and finding out what do you like, that whole idea of getting involved. The nonprofits do so much for the community. It doesn't have to be politics. It doesn't have to be that. It can be the involvement you're doing right now is making a huge difference in our community, and especially the lives of people. And so in those things and the way you're engaging with them can continue to advance the work we're doing in all aspects around community engagement. I have a question for Jessica. I have a few questions. I'm going to kind of go off the cuff here around digital engagement, because you're working right now in the community where we're having to do more virtual opportunities. And Morgan, be ready for this too. I might ask you some things around this, but Jessica, with Engage Miami, what is Engage doing in terms of engaging virtually, and what can people do to take part in that with your organization?
Well, as everyone here can attest to, organizing digitally has proven to be quite a challenge in the beginning, because we're so used to, especially when it comes to voter registration and civic engagement, we're so used to being in person and registering people in person. So that part has definitely proven to be difficult, I cannot lie. However, we have been able to increase the amount of public commentary and the amount of like engagement when it comes to the local city commission meetings, as well as the local county commission meetings. We've due to the fact that everyone has changed to the virtual meeting setting, and you are able to now submit public comments through calls and emails and things of that sort. We have been able to increase that amount of young people participating in that, as well as the one-on-ones. I am now able to do one-on-ones through Zoom, and also just, host community get-togethers, watch parties, things like that. And through that, we have been able to increase the amount of engagement of people's public commentary, like local and city meetings. Like sometimes it's their first time attending a local and city commission meeting, but now we have the ability for everyone to attend because they don't have to drive maybe an hour out to get to their city hall.
Thank you. And that, yes, and the people that are on the call, going online and finding those meetings, they're all public. You can go find and see what's going on and view them. You can even view past ones and see what's happening. So, you just, what's happening in your area, what's going on, what are people talking about? Go inside and go online and look and enjoy your evening, and so I would encourage you to do that. Another question, Jessica, while I have you here, would be, people are, talk about internships, getting involved. Is there any potential internships with your organization that students could get involved with on that end?
Well, yes, we just got a bunch of fellows and interns recently. So we have the YPPP fellows, where the fellows will be helping us with the Young People's Policy Platform, and with the elections coming up, and that should be very exciting. As well as we have Civic 305 fellows, which will help with the voter engagement, civic engagement, and education part of our programs. So we have those opportunities available, as well as we just hired an operations intern. So there's different things that we have that young people can get involved in. And if you're still interested in like internships and things like that, we will keep everyone posted. And we post those things on our Instagram all the time. And, if anyone is interested, they can feel free to email us, and, we can figure something out. But for right now, we also kind of have a full house. Not gonna make any promises as of right now, but we do have volunteer opportunities, and we are all remote and digital, but we're still making it happen.
Awesome. And so what is your Instagram?
Our Instagram is Engage MIA.
Awesome. Well, that's always important because we got to make sure we're following all these various organizations. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. And I'll be back in just a second for possibly another question. So I'm going to go quickly to Morgan. Morgan, I do have the same question a little bit around digital engagement. What are you doing? But also the same, do you have involvement aside from membership, or what's the opportunities there with the League of Women Voters?
Sure, absolutely. So as far as digital engagement, just to be transparent, as I said, the League was started in 1920. And so traditionally our membership has skewed older, and we are bringing in like more younger and more diverse members. But right now, a lot of our membership is older. And so it's really been a transition for them now that everything is going online. We are doing online events, we're doing online outreach, and we are doing a lot of events through Zoom, a lot of like marketing and messaging through social media. So it's been, an interesting and exciting time at the League. But I would say also just something that is super fun that we're doing with FIU, and we would love to do something similar with as well if you all are interested in that. But we're doing a TikTok challenge with FIU's student government where students at FIU can create a TikTok about vote by mail, educating people about vote by mail, like how to vote by mail, when you need to sign up for a vote by mail ballot, what's going to be on it, all those things. They submit it and they tag the League of Women Voters of Miami-Dade and then also FIU Student Center and a couple of other student orgs at FIU. And so we're going to be reviewing those in the next couple of weeks and then actually issuing an Uber Eats gift card. So that's a really exciting way that we've just recently come into like another digital platform to do outreach to different populations. And then I think your second question was, well, I forgot it.
That's okay, just if there's internships or anything like that with you, but it may just be more membership.
Yes, absolutely. So we don't have any formal opportunities at this time, but if you as a student come to us and say, I want to volunteer with your organization, or I want to get college credit for it, or I want to do an internship with you, we absolutely will make it happen. I had a student in 2018 during the midterm elections from MDC, I think either the Homestead or the Kendall campus, and she was doing a service learning course and she selected the League of Women Voters as the organization that she wanted to do it with. And so she was able to get her service learning credit through doing our Party at the Polls events with us. So no formal opportunities, but if you come in, we will make it happen. We can arrange with your professor to give you credit or just do an internship opportunity.
Awesome. And do you have an Instagram account with your organization?
Yes, it's LWV Miami-Dade. That's our Instagram.
And you have a TikTok too?
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
No.
You're just doing that as the challenge.
Yeah, it's the challenge. So students on their TikTok accounts, they create a TikTok and then they post the TikTok to Instagram and tag us in it.
Ah, gotcha.
Yes, we do not have a TikTok. We're not there yet. We're still we're still growing.
I have a question that's coming in. We have some questions about high school students. We must have some high schoolers on here, or have families that have high school students. Do we have any opportunities for high school?
I would say the same. We don't have any opportunities specifically for high school students, but we have had students in the past that are in high school and that want to volunteer with us. And it's, the same process. Obviously, if you're a minor, you want to get your parents' permission. But if you're 18 or older, the process is the same. Just start coming to our meetings, start showing up, and we will plug you in where you most want to be plugged in.
Thank you. And Jessica, any high school opportunities with you?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of a similar process. If any high schoolers are interested in working with us, reach out to us and we will see what opportunities that there are for you to get involved, especially now that it's 2020 and it's a big election year and we have a lot of things to accomplish before November. So we have plenty of opportunities for people who want to get involved.
Thank you. No, that's great. So I know we have some close on time, but I still have a few questions that I would like to at least throw out to the group for this. So, we have a question about maintaining nonpartisanship in a political climate that is currently very divisive and intense. And so how do you maintain that with your organizations in this type of environment?
Andrew, I can speak to that because as I said, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, and every election cycle, the president of our organization has to email out our nonpartisan statement and review it with us because we are a political organization and we are very political people. And so the way that we manage it and the way that I manage it in my role is that when I am speaking or appearing on behalf of the League of Women Voters, I am appearing in a nonpartisan way. So I won't endorse any candidates. I won't necessarily state what my political views are. But if you go over to like my personal Instagram account, you will very clearly see exactly who I'm supporting, what my political views are, what I believe. And the tricky thing is that as someone who does hold a leadership role in the league, as the league, we want to maintain that sense of nonpartisan or bipartisanship. And so that's why it's important to just have those distinctions of when I'm like wearing my league hat and when I'm wearing my personal hat.
Thank you very much. I also had a question which mentioned voter registration. We brought that up a lot of how do we, as individuals, help provide for voter registration and voter education in a large student organization, and how would you begin to promote that? I don't know if who would like to take that, but we have like a few minutes left. Jessica, I know you mentioned something.
Yeah, I can take that one. And as far as like voter registration and education, I think the number one thing that is most important is definitely the education portion. And I think Morgan also mentioned that she has an educational portion called Civics 101. At Engage, we call it Civics 305. So we explain the basics of the function, the structure of each government structure. So we go from the national structure to the state, and then we bring it down to the level of local politics as well. Who is our local mayor? Who is our local commissioners? And how do you go about learning who these people are? What are their roles? And how can we actually get involved in knowing when these elections are? And how can we go about learning what's on the ballot? It's all about the education portion of it all. And if you need help breaking it down, we would be more than happy to provide those types of resources. And as well as the voter registration portion. Even when we are going throughout the voter registration, filling it out with someone line by line, we help them out. We tell them the different reasons why certain things are on there. We tell them the background to the different specific things that they need to know to fill out the voter registration form correctly, while all still staying nonpartisan as well. So there's different ways to do it, but I think ultimately the education portion of like bringing it back to the basics of civics. Why is it important, and how can we build people power? I think definitely is the main way that we can encourage people to get into voter registration and education, and bringing that knowledge to not only, you know, our friends, but our family and everyone that we have around us.
Thank you, Jessica. And I would also, we are almost out of time, and I wish we had more time, but I know that everyone has so many things going on with our lives. And I will share that we will send out information about your organizations and about our contacts of our speakers. And if you want to get in touch with individuals, that will be an opportunity for you. I also want to share with you that if you are wanting to get involved with the Canes Vote Network, and along with Get Out the Vote. Get Out the Vote also, and as part of voter registration, we have Sabrina, one of the members of the executive board, oversees, along with Michael, the voter registration ambassadors, the voter ambassadors on our campus. And we would want to ensure that you have an opportunity. We'll start putting out the applications for that to help educate and to help individuals register to vote. Because as we go into an election year, that's one way to get involved. And many of you may be registration or voter ambassadors already. So many ways to get involved. I will send the resources from our team to ensure that you have that. And I really appreciate everything, but we, you know, from our team to your Zoom, we really appreciate all that you do to continue to educate our community and to help support getting involved in our civic community. So again, thank you to Krista, to Raven, to Morgan and Jessica. Truly appreciate all of your work, and really thank you for all of your insight this evening as we've shared with our community. So I wish you all a wonderful evening. as you go into the rest of the week. And we will continue to stay in touch. And as we all say, Canes vote. So enjoy and have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.